Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of our open mic program. And I guess it's something has happened. I don't know, but I do believe we have Senator Boozman on this week. And Senator, I'm just kind of giving you a little hard time because we missed you last week.
Well, it's good to be back, Bob, and we appreciate being with you as always very much.
Well, I heard that you did have an anniversary and that it was some well-deserved time off.
It was, and it's nice to take a day or two and, do the things that you're supposed to in that regard. And so my wife and I have been together since I was 16, and so a long time. I've been blessed with a wonderful family, and certainly she has done a tremendous job of taking care of me and my girls. And, it's just nice to recognize that fact and spend some time at home.
Well, there's been a lot of things been going on, and I know we've talked about protesting before in Washington, D.C., but there's been protesting all over America. And one thing is we always want to say, protesting is what makes America great. But when you start throwing rocks or destroying people's property, that is a crime, and a lot of those are going to jail.
You're absolutely right. We want to be sure and protect the ability to protest. This goes back forever. It's one of our bedrock principles in America. On the other hand, we want to make sure that we protect the protesters, we protect the police, we protect property, the people that own that property that have worked so hard in all cases, And so as a result of that, we just need to make sure that we remember why we're protesting and don't ruin it. The George Floyd situation was a tragedy. The fact that so many have come out and voiced their concern regarding that and demanding that there's action in the future, I think is a great thing. And as a result, I think that some very positive actions at some point in the not too distant future will be done. On the other hand, we don't want that marred with the looting and the violence and people that take advantage of the situation with crimes of opportunity that do others harm.
I did see one African-American gentleman on NPR, and he says, don't watch TV. Cable news is just trying to get ratings. And I thought that was kind of a elementary way of looking at it. They keep playing that same video over and over and over, and you think there's nothing left in D.C., but it's, it's been pretty calm, hasn't it?
It has. There was a night where a number of Secret Service were injured. Overall, though, and you've been to D.C. many times, Bob, for various reasons, but the D.C. is kind of geared towards protests. Protests happen here every day about something. And so I think that the police, the people, the Capitol Police, the city police, do a good job in the sense of understanding what's going on. So that's been good. One of the saddest things that I saw in relation to all of this, very elderly African-American woman was on TV, and her neighborhood had been burned. And she was talking the stores that she shopped at. And she said, she was crying and said, what do I do? There's no place to shop now. There's no transportation. Transportation's limited. I can't get to the places I need to go now. And so, you just really, your heart just broke in the sense this is the real consequence of these just unthoughtful, violent acts that somebody has done. It really does affect real people in such a negative way.
Well, that's something that we've all got to just say. Protesting is great, but when it gets to violence, that is not acceptable. Mm-hmm. And we have done a great job of letting all of Americans know that as well.
And it hurts in so many cases like that in these inner city neighborhoods. It hurts the people that simply don't need to be hurt. They're struggling as it is, and to add an added burden on them is certainly not a good situation.
Well, we got a couple of things that's been really going on. The flexibility to the Paycheck Protection Program. I just saw that on our news site, at KFFB.com. Let's explain what that's all about.
Well, this is really important. One of the things that I've encountered in visiting through countless telephone calls and then also visiting with people in person is the inability to use the Paycheck Protection Program to not have enough flexibility where it was of the use that many business people would like to have. And so as a result, it was working, but it could work better. And so as a result of listening to all of those ideas as to how it could be improved, the House and now the Senate has passed a plan, And what it does is a number of different things. It extends it from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. A lot of businesses simply, the 8 weeks was way too short, couldn't really utilize it during that period of time. And then also the non-payroll expenses for loan forgiveness, that goes from 25%. In other words, with the original plan, 75% could be used for payroll, 25% other things. This has increased that 25% to 40%. And so there's really a lot of things I would encourage your listeners. Many of them have taken advantage of this. It's a very, very good program, and this makes it that much better. And then also there is a significant amount of dollars still out there that people can still apply, if they feel like it would be helpful to their business. I think it's a very useful tool. And then in passing this bill, working together, Democrats and Republicans, to iron this out using the advice that we've gotten from the small business folks, this makes it that much better.
And then you also had the Veterans Affairs Committee. You met with Secretary Wilkie about the VA's fiscal year, and this is something that you are very strong on as well.
Well, I am. I'm on the authorizing committee, the VA committee, and I'm also on the appropriations subcommittee. I actually chair it, so I'm really up to my eyebrows in this. And Secretary Wilkie gave a good story. We're spending lots of money on veterans. That's a good thing, and the reason that we're spending it is that a lot more veterans are part of the VA system because it's gotten so much better. And so that's a good story to tell. We're going to increase the budget probably about 12% this year with VA health care. If you look at VA health care over the last 10 years, it's increased, I believe, 72%. It's really remarkable. So we're really trying to take care of our veterans in a number of different ways. One of the things we're concerned about, some of your listeners might be experiencing this, so we're really working hard to help the Veterans Administration deal with it, is that during the COVID outbreak, they have not been able to do exams, which you need to do for disability ratings. And so they've had to put that on hold. They've got at least 118,000 exams that they need to do. And so we're going to help them provide additional resources, additional things that they can really cut into that backlog and get it back under control, which we had worked so hard to do prior to the outbreak of the virus.
And it's one thing we always say every time we talk about veterans. This is something that is so much better than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And if you're a veteran, this is not a give me. This is something they earn, and we encourage them to get in touch with the VA.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, Bob. These are, as you say, not give-me's. These are earned benefits. This was part of the deal, for an individual being willing to put on the uniform. And there's very few now that do. And as a result, they're doing what others don't wish to do. And so as part of that, this is part of the package. So we're working very hard to honor that commitment. And I think, are doing a much better job of doing that than we, as you point out, it wasn't that long ago where we didn't have the financial abilities that they have now to really provide good quality care. We're so blessed in Arkansas to have our flagship in Little Rock, and then another big VA facility in Northwest Arkansas, and then a number of what we call CBOCs, which are the small clinics that are throughout the state that work in conjunction with the larger hospitals.
Now, the Environment and Public Works Committee also hosting a hearing about infrastructure, and everybody loves infrastructure. That's what makes America great.
They really do love it. And it's interesting, the interstates were built initially. President Eisenhower, got that started for military, to be able to move the military from the east to west coast. But as a result of that, it really helped us become the economic powerhouse that we are. The ability to transport goods and services through great roads, great infrastructure. Sadly now, a lot of that is the original infrastructure. We simply have to work on that. We hear a lot about shovel-ready projects and this and that. That means that they're shovel-ready. You can put people to work right then, and that's all great. That creates some jobs. But the real bonus is the economic opportunity that comes about is putting that infrastructure in place. And now with us being a global economy and competing with these countries all over the world, infrastructure is so important in helping us keep costs down so that we can be very productive and very competitive.
It's very important for sure. Well, one thing we're just going to come back and do a donut here, as they say in broadcasting, talking about some of the protesting going on.
You and I both like donuts.
It's right. I've been staying away from the donuts. I'm telling you. But you know, when we're looking at the protesting, Arkansas has actually done a very good job. And I know in West Arkansas, there's been kind of like the poster child of how they even wearing masks and using the social distancing where they can, and gloves as well. So that's something that's positive that we look at some of the protesting here in Arkansas.
I agree. I think the governor's done a really good job in a number of different areas. And when you get into protesting and making sure that things don't get violent, I think we have to attribute that to our police forces who feel like that they're the policemen, but they're also our neighbor, have the mindset for the most part there to serve. And so I've got all the respect in the world for them. I support them. On the other hand, when you have situations like the George Floyd case, that simply cannot be tolerated. And so we've had a lot of people that have come out and voiced that support. And I think through good policing, good restraint on the part of lots of different people, the protesters, the police, our leadership in our communities, for the most part, that's gone pretty well. And I think we can be very proud of that as a state.
We got to watch for the COVID as we're waiting for a cure, and the numbers have gone up in West
You're
Arkansas.
Right.
But a lot more tests, as you've stated months ago, that it's all into testing, and we're getting almost 4,000 tests a day.
Testing has gone up, and certainly that's a good thing. It's amazing, significant percentage of people that test positive have minimal or no symptoms. So that it's a strange disease. The other thing that's going to drive this too is that the idea of keeping people inside, limiting their ability to get around, the restaurants and all those kind of things, was to make it such that we keep talking about bending the curve, and we did that. And that was so the hospitals wouldn't get overwhelmed and this and that. As people get back out, start going back to work, as people start interacting together in a necessary way, as we go back to starting the economy back up, certainly you're going to have cases. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, and buts. On the other hand, we want a situation like we are, as those cases occur, that we're able to take care of them, give them the very best treatment that we can, not overwhelm our hospital system. I think also we can be proud of the fact that of the cases we've had, it seems like people have gotten good care, and our fatality rate, one is too many, less than in lots of places. So again, that's another thing that we can be very proud of.
And also Dr. Nathaniel Smith. He's world-renowned.
Yes.
I mean, he's going to the CDC, which that's something really great for Arkansas as well. He's done an awesome job as well as the governor.
He has. I've gotten to know him well through the years. My brother is a former head of the, of that department. And so he's just such a nice person, he's a great doctor, a great scientist, a great infectious disease person, all of those. But he's just such a nice person and so unassuming. And he truly is the model of a public servant. He could have made a lot more money, just totally being in the private sector, but chose to serve, public health. And so I just can't say enough nice things about him. I mean, he's somebody that we can be very proud of, and somebody that I think is a great example of just being a good human being.
Great to be in Arkansas. I tell you, we've got a lot of things to be proud of, and that's some of the stuff that we've seen. It's challenging times, but Arkansas is raised up for it. So, Senator Boozman, I appreciate you taking time. They said you have a little window here, and I think we've expanded the window today.
No. Thank you so much for having me, as always, and we appreciate you. I appreciate your show.
Okay, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.